Cub and Chub.
The recording is in progress.
Oh, always on key. Never, ever an issue. Hey, Tim.
Hi. I know that you're shading me, but yeah, pretty much always.
I would never shade you.
That's a lie. There's a tree every
I
day.
could never wear sunglasses around you, sir. Never.
I'm confused.
That didn't work at all.
Oh, shades.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about your big head. I was like, woo, that's
wow. Wow, Tim. I thought you were talking about your big ass head. Wow.
I didn't say ass.
Tim, we're gonna bring somebody on here in a minute that we both love a lot, and she's one of my favorites. But before we do, I just wanted to say happy early birthday.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
It's your birthday week. It's so awesome.
Yes, I'm just glowing and dewy and ready to celebrate another, trip around the sun.
That's
and,
right.
Maybe get drunk, fuck somebody, and, complete the year the way that it should be completed.
That's right. And we're gonna go all out on our cruise here in just a little bit.
Yes. Oh. I have to deplete the 36-year-old nut so that the 37-year-old nut can be fresh.
Not deplete the nut.
Yeah. That's how you end the year.
That's how you end it. That's right. Depleted. Yeah. Well, you and I a few weeks ago did part 1 of Bridgerton.
We did.
We had a blast talking about that, and we really enjoyed the Shondaland of it all. And we thought, what could we do as we summarize part 2? And you and I know somebody.
We do. We might know her very well.
That's right. Who loves this world. And I've been lucky to be friends with her for the last 20 years. Good God, it's time is a weird thing.
You're old.
Old as hell. But
old as hell.
Well, with that said, Tim, I think we should bring Margaret on. Want to bring her on?
Yes. Okay. Well, bing, bang, boom. Let's get her in the room.
Everybody, one of my favorite people in the world is here. Margaret, hello.
Margaret!
I'm so happy to be here.
Yes.
We have been wanting Margaret on an episode for so long, and we're trying to figure out what makes the most sense, what's the best subject, and then we posted that we were doing Bridgerton, and Margaret's like, hey, what's up? And I was like, yes!
Yes, this is my world. This is my people.
Mayfair.
I will say that I have not read the books. I tried to read them in 2020, and I thought they were boring because it's all white people. No shade if you love the books, because I know a lot of people do, but I do love the show.
Yeah,
I mean, Shonda does her thing. The book is one thing, and then there's Shondaland. There's two different things.
And they're respectful of the book readers.
Yeah,
I truly think.
It sounds like the book readers don't revolt very much from what I see online. I'm sure there's some haters out there, but it seems like, oh, okay, so you're in a little bit more than me. So yeah, because I know they've made some changes.
You can get into
because there's a timing change
at the end. There's something in episode 8 that people are trash people are upset about. I don't know if you want to get into that now, but we can.
We'll dive into we can dive into that here in a little bit. But Margaret, overall, can you tell us what are your feelings about the show in general, but also particularly about the season now that we've wrapped up part 2? How are you feeling? I
loved the 3rd season. It's probably my favorite. I took the day off of work on Thursday to binge the last 4 episodes with my friend. She did the same thing. It'll take a couple rewatches, I think, to see how the 8 episodes fit together as a cohesive whole. I did think 1 and 2 felt very different. But I have been a Colin Penelope shipper from the very beginning as a pale, chubby, redhead wallflower in my youth. There's a lot in that rang true for me, and it was pure wish fulfillment. And not everybody is here for that, but I absolutely was. So watching it, it was just kind of like you never really see that story. So it made me really happy. It just made me really happy. I do have some criticisms. I do have some critiques. No art is
Sure.
perfect. But as a whole, I just loved it. I mean, the smartest girl in the room gets the guy of her dreams, and he spends 4 episodes telling her how amazing she is. It's
Right.
just like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm here for that. That's great.
That's right. Tim, what about you? How'd you feel as we wrapped up part 2 of the part of season 3?
So I feel much better about the relationship. It was more front forward than it was before in the first 4 episodes. And I really enjoyed it. It actually, it is like top 2
Okay.
for the episodes for the Bridgerton.
Out of 3 seasons, this
Yeah.
is in the top 2.
Top 2.
Wow.
Well, I mean, number 1, season 1, you're just not gonna. But her titties were amazing. So like,
Right?
like it's ass and titties. It's ass and then titties.
Okay, so let's jump into the couch. Let's jump onto the couch real quick because that couch scene, they do sex scenes in this show, but I was sitting there like, oh my.
Well, the thing about it is like a lot of times we find that the woman isn't really involved, and she was involved. Yeah, and that's why I loved it. It's like she was like, "What do you want? Like, what do you do?"
It was a good example of like what a woman would want the perfect first experience to be, and contrasting it. First of all, I'm so glad they put another scene of them having sex in the bed because it's like, Penelope, girl, I want you to get off in a comfortable place, right? Because shed lounges, not comfortable, bouncy like whatever.
Not an obtuse angle.
we love a consent king, and he was always like, is this okay? Do you like this? But it didn't take away from the romance. Yeah. I think contrasting it with the carriage scene, the carriage scene is all lust and hot, and we're just like going with our feeling. This was so tender and romantic, but very different, but still beautiful. And I thought that like those 2 scenes were really interesting, and that they're both hot but very different.
Yeah. I'm glad we got full nip. We got full...
and her breasts.
You got nipples.
So
and they were perfect. I was like, girl,
my boobs are big and they do not look like that.
I was like, those titties are amazing. I was like, go off, Penelope.
Nervous. I mean, as someone who is like nervous to be nude, like, you know, she doesn't want to, she's like trying to cover up, and you know, that it just all felt very real to me. It felt very real, but they're great actors too. So they really sell it.
Yeah. Agreed.
Penelope is such a good actor. It is.
Oh my God.
So, okay, Tim, let's dig into that. Because Tim likes to do this thing, Margaret, where we say these actors are very good. And then Tim will say, yes, Penelope is a very good actress. So Tim, tell us a little bit, how are you feeling about Colin?
Yeah, have you come around?
I think he's better. I think the character arc and the idea that he is just envious of her was very good. And I believed that of that character. Do I feel like he's the best leading man I've ever seen? No.
See, I disagree.
Really?
Okay.
I do. I disagree. And the reason why I disagree, I mean, I'm not going to say that Luke Newton is like the best actor on the show. I thought he was great. But I love Colin Bridgerton for several reasons. The first season, we have the Duke, who would blow up his own life and be miserable his whole life because he made a promise to his dad, who died and isn't here anymore. But he'd rather be miserable than like admit that he could be happy. And then you have Anthony, who spends 8 fucking episodes trying to convince himself he doesn't love this hot ass girl. And it's so frustrating. And it's like, then we come to Colin, who as soon as he realizes he loves Penelope, it's only 2 weeks. And he's like, you know what? I love her. I'm going to go get her. I'm going to tell her exactly how I feel. I'm going to spend this whole time telling her how great she is. I just really appreciate a man who isn't afraid of his feelings and really embraced them and went for
Yeah.
what he wanted, especially in a Bridgerton season,
So
because that's just not what we get.
I'll say this, Margaret. I think for me, the issue I had with, and I'm trying to decide if it's the character, if it's the writing, or even the actor. For me, it was a bigger leap for me to get from where he was to leading, because each season
Yeah.
we get a new Bridgerton, male lead or whatever. And for me, I just was like, oh, okay, he did the glow up into season 3, like what they were gonna do, like that's all fine and dandy. We do get this storyline of him going off and coming back more mysterious and maybe pretending to be somebody he's not a little bit like, and they dig into that, even that a little bit more with what Penelope says to him in part 2. Um, I I I love Penelope, and I think I like the idea of Colin. I don't know if I ever got sold fully on the presentation of Colin.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that's fair. And a lot of criticism I've seen online is that why is Colin a secondary character in his own season?
Oh, sure.
And
Yeah.
so I think that you're not alone in that criticism of the season. My response to that is just Penelope is a far more interesting character. So I'd much rather spend time with her,
And
So I
that's
don't
I
have
think
any
that's
issue
why
with
I
it.
didn't like care about
Yeah.
him being the leading man, is because she's the character that I actually
Yeah.
care about.
I actually think that in this, not the book, which is called Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, but in this season of Bridgerton, the Bridgerton in question is Penelope Bridgerton.
Yeah.
Yeah. She
Yeah, it's
becomes the
about her
Bridgerton.
journey, her confidence. It is about her melding Penelope and Lady Whistledown and realizing that they are not separate personas, that is the one person. And
Yeah.
I think the scene that we really get that in is when Colin discovers it, when he goes back and he kept every letter he wrote to her, or she
Yeah.
wrote to him. It was so romantic. So he's reading the letters and it's like, oh, yeah, she's been Lady Whistledown all along.
Yeah.
She's an amazing writer, she's clever, she's smart, she's biting, she observes, but that's just part of who she is and part of why I love her. So yeah, I mean, it's Penelope Bridgerton season.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'd say. I'd say like whatever mild, and at this point it is really mild. Whatever any mild hangups I have with the Colin character, I'm in for Penelope. She just sells
Yeah.
it the entire season. It is her season.
I just believe Penelope completely and fully.
Yeah.
And like Colin is her man. Like
Yeah, and honestly, if you love Penelope enough, and for me, I think the show did enough with him. But if it didn't for you, because Penelope loves him, it's like, yes, I'll accept him because I
Yeah.
trust her. I trust
like
her.
I'm like,
Not
I
gonna,
want
yeah.
Penelope to win. Like
Yes. If this is what winning looks like for her, being
Yeah.
with like a milquetoast boy band member.
Exactly. Which is exactly what happened with
Yeah.
I call her Ma Bridgerton. Lady Bridgerton, and like her daughter, is it Francesca? Is like,
Francesca.
girl, if this is what you want, okay.
Yeah, and it took her a little longer to get there than I was hoping. Some of the subplots I thought were kind of stretched out too. I would have rather had more Colin and Penelope and less like these subplots. But yeah, because for her, she and her husband were friends to lovers, but it was like all of a sudden, love can exist in many different forms, right? And
Yeah,
so Violet
right.
had to come to that understanding.
That's one thing I really loved about this back season, is that it's just so many like relationships going on. Like you see Lady Bridgerton and Lady Danbury's relationship.
Yeah. Did you guys watch Queen Charlotte?
I did, yes.
A lot of
That's
payoff.
number one. That's number one.
I think that there was a lot of payoff for
Yeah.
the stuff that was in that one scene with her, with Violet and Agatha, where they actually talk about like Lady Danbury saying it's okay for you to be with my brother, and by the way, you know about me and your dad, and she's like, yes, we're friends,
Yeah.
it's fine. It was beautiful. And also, I mean, anything with Lady Danbury is going to be fucking awesome because
So
Amazing.
good.
she is
So
such
good.
an MVP. She's such an MVP. But I will also say, I thought the back half of the season accomplished something I never thought I would say,
hmm
but they made Benedict interesting and they made me excited for his season.
Yes.
So-
I guess I guess I'm a manifester, but I
Uh,
thought we already knew that he was a little bi.
In
Like,
the first season, right? In the first season, when he saw his like art mentor in
yeah,
a gay relationship and then was like, oh, that's not for me. Everybody was upset, I feel like. Well, I
yeah.
mean, not every, but most people were like, no, this is perfect. So I don't know if you heard me screaming when I watched it, but I was so happy. My friend, it was like the biggest reaction we had the whole 4 episodes because it was like, finally, finally.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it was only on my third rewatch that I caught all of the times that people just, and I felt that they didn't just tell, they did show. But
Yeah.
Benedict's deal is that he does love everyone. Like
Yeah.
there's openness and an abundance of love is how
Hmm.
they describe him. And I do see that. I am really excited to see what's coming down for him. His interactions with Gregory and Hyacinth are so funny and
oh
sweet.
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
He
Yeah,
seems like
he really just loves everybody. He's a good time guy. That's what my husband said.
I just love this the scenes that we get with like him and Eloise on the swings.
Yes.
I'm just
Oh,
like
that
gays
was
on
so
swings,
great.
absolutely. Like
Coming back to the swings at the end was really, I don't know. I'm thinking they might have a joint season next year.
that would be
yeah.
cute.
That I think that
Yeah.
would make sense.
Yeah.
I gotta say
Well,
one thing
2 years,
about
I guess.
the Benedict storyline that I really love when you're dealing with people who are bisexual or pansexual or dealing in things that are more than one, let's say.
Yeah,
Um,
Polly.
a lot of people will just get hung up on definitions and trying to
Mhm.
group. And that very simple scene where he's sitting on the bed with Blondie McBlonderson, I can't remember her name, her character name all of a sudden.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
That she says, are you not interested? Because she's trying to feel out like what's going on in the relationship. He's like, it
Yeah.
could be this person, it could be that
It
person.
could
Like,
be it could be Paul, it could be Polly, it could be Peter, it could be
yeah.
Yeah.
he's like it could be anybody.
And it's like it's that one line that gives you everything you need to know about his sexuality and
Yeah.
where we're going to go with that, because for him again it doesn't matter, he's a person of love. It's the person, not I really really appreciated the simplicity of that explanation after seasons of going like, we think he's curious minimally. If he's not like
Yeah.
jumping at opportunities, he's
Yeah.
at least curious about this stuff. But to give him a definition that is very simple, that gives him a very clear plotline forward, I appreciate that as somebody who kind of has to deal with some of that sometimes and explaining like who I'm into or what's going on. It's like
Yeah.
we
And
Yeah.
exist. So
his book, I don't know if you all know anything. This could be like mild spoilers for Benedict's book for those who don't know. His whole deal is that he meets a woman at the masquerade ball, which is why when he's like, "Oh, well," when Eloise says, "I'll be back by the masquerade ball," and he's like, "Well, I'll definitely be there." Everyone was like,
mm.
Ah,
he meets a woman who is a servant disguised as a member of the Ton. But it is
Oh,
yeah, but it is a like straight heterosexual relationship. It'll be very
yeah.
interesting to see if they
pivot. Yeah.
take
But
anything with
that's,
that.
honestly, love it should be that love is love, period. Like
Yeah,
just, if you find somebody that is you deem good enough, then be
it
with them.
might be
It doesn't matter.
interesting if he does end up in like a monogamous hetero woman man relationship. It might be interesting if they get into like, is he feeling any bi erasure? Like, does he
Yeah.
feel now that he's explored these other types of relationships? But as soon as Paul popped up there, I was like, oh, Paul. Like
Yeah.
everybody
First of all,
knew.
I was like, Paul,
Oh, okay.
Paul, bear nose, Pauls are a thing in my
Pause
life.
happen. Pause happen.
Uh,
Yeah.
Paul looked like a young Russell Brand, but I
he
did
looked like
not.
an Ian
Did
Summers
I
feel. A
Margaret, that was the first
vampire.
thing I thought. I was like, was this Russell Brand like 20
I
years
didn't
ago?
mind because Russell Brand is garbage, but I was like,
Right.
Paul.
Yeah.
And I was just so happy that they didn't have because he fled the first time, but like for
Yeah.
someone in 1815, I think that and he was polite about it.
Yeah.
But oh, I was so happy when they just came him back because they just had to make him queer. Like, come on, 8 siblings, somebody is mad at me.
Somebody's gonna
Somebody
want it.
is munching on something of the same. Like,
Let me let me ask you guys, how do we feel about my Daria / Eloise, her kind of development this season, or where she's
I loved it.
yeah.
I loved it because I was going back and forth the whole time. I was just like, ooh, but then I was like, she's a good friend. And then I was like, girl. And I was like, but I would tell Bear. Like,
Yeah.
I actually think Eloise is a terrible friend, but I think this season was about Eloise learning what it is to be a good friend. And when she came around, she was so mad at Penelope for everything that she'd done, but then she kind of realized, like, oh, she was trying to protect. Like, she got there, but
yeah.
even to Cressida, she's kind of a shitty friend. She was never paying attention to what she was saying. She's always too wrapped up in her own shit. But I feel like she's starting to get there.
I think her and Cressida's friendship was more of a friendship of convenience. Like they
Yeah.
both were on the outside, and like she was best friends, maybe even hoped to be lovers with Penelope. Who knows? Like it really just gave off like she has a strong affinity
Codependency.
for the people that like no, just a strong affinity for
Yeah.
the people that she loves.
Yeah. But I think she's right when she's like, I need to see more of the
Yeah,
world. She absolutely does. And I think that
yeah,
Penelope in Eloise in season 4 will probably be very different after having met other types of
yeah,
people and seen like a mountain
I
yeah.
and not
definitely,
just Mayfair.
guilty of wanting to make everything gay. The end of part one where Eloise and Cressida have that moment in the box at the ball, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe we're gonna pivot here because they're both struggling. Like, I
There
again,
was
you
a
want to make
vibe.
everything
There
gay.
was a vibe for
Yeah,
I
I
sure.
was
mean,
like,
Eloise
okay,
just gives a hard, like, Virginia Woolf vibe. Like,
Yeah.
yes.
it is.
I actually thought, I was like, okay, here's what's going to happen. Cressida is going to marry Lord Debling. He's
Mhm.
going to go away for years and die in the Northwest Passage on like an iceberg. And then Cressida will be a rich widow, and she and Eloise will just like constantly scissor, and it'll be great.
Mhm.
And
Cressida
everybody
said,
will.
no, you want kids? Absolutely not.
I'm not doing
Like,
any of that. Oh my gosh.
What do you guys feel about Cressida's storylines? I thought it was really interesting. There were multiple opportunities for her to sort of come back from this path that she was on. And
yeah.
in the end, she was like, no,
I
uh-uh.
think it's one of those things of the apple not falling far from the tree.
Well,
It's
she's
just like
been taught, right?
as much as you want to be this like good friend, good person, and whatnot. When the chips are down and you have to fight, you're going to go back to what you are used to.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Yeah.
she was a bitch, like so.
I like I like that they made a character who was really like a background mean girl character for that first two
Yeah,
seasons really. I felt things about Cressida. They really like I felt for her in her situation and with what's going on with her family. I
yeah,
felt her trying to be a better person and trying to find her path, particularly with Eloise. Obviously, her interactions with Penelope were never very good, minimally. But I felt for her. I understood why she
Yeah.
was acting the way she was. So even for a character that I is not very redeeming at a lot of times, I felt was like understood. And I like that I like that she was trying to stand her ground even though she was in quicksand. Like
yeah.
trying to stick to
Yeah.
the
And you
I don't know.
see that reflected in her wardrobe, right? Like she's like pinks and cute updos and stuff in her house. Like the house that she comes from is so dark and
Dark.
dismal.
Yeah.
And so you see her constantly always fighting
Yeah.
to not be that. And then she kind of like
Yeah.
goes back and says, okay, well, then I'm just going to be the bitch everybody thinks I am.
Sometimes we can't break free of the damage our family has done to us.
Yeah.
She and Eloise have a talk. Like, why do we pit ourselves against other women in part
Yeah.
one? And then in part two, her mother explicitly says, didn't I always teach you that other women are competition? Like that was
Exactly.
drilled into her. And then Colin's very misguided attempt to talk her
Yeah,
of
girl.
blackmailing. He almost had her actually until
And
he said,
then
your
family.
family's love is enduring. They'll understand. And it was like,
I don't want my
no,
family's
they
love.
won't. They hate me. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's when he lost her. He almost had her. And those, and what to your point, Bear, I think that that's good writing. We know Cressida's the villain, right? But we understand where she's coming from.
Yeah.
And all of her choices make sense with the context we have. It's not
Yeah.
just like mustache twirling.
Yeah.
You understand why she's the way. But that bitch is gonna come back from Wales and she's gonna have a plan. I bet.
Listen, I hope she comes back from Wales a full like man. I don't know.
I mean, it's not like there's no people in Wales. I mean, she could come back and having married someone, and
that's true.
I'd like to talk briefly about things that I think they're setting up from episode 8, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
So quickly, Colin and Penelope, she tells him in the very last scene, like, there are people that I wronged and they're not going to forget, and there may not always be happy days. I think that people are definitely going to want revenge on Lady Whistledown.
Yeah.
Obviously we set up Benedict with the masquerade ball, right? Eloise going to Scotland. And the thing that I alluded to earlier with the fans of the books being really mad.
Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away about what happens with Francesca, but in a later book, John Kilmartin has a brother named Michael.
Okay.
And now we have Michaela.
Yes.
And
I saw those looks. I was like,
oh yes. So
I was like, you want a quiet life, all right.
Yeah, there are some very mad people that Michael has become Michaela. And I'm like, I have no allegiance to the books. That woman is hot as hell. I'm like all in on Michaela.
Yeah.
The skin is amazing.
Oh, interesting. So they gender swapped the character, and now
they did. So we'll see where it goes. I mean, there was definitely Francesca was very tongue-tied, and so they're definitely indicating that Benedict might not be the only queer.
Oh, can we talk about the look Francesca gave after the kiss? That was so like
they hadn't kissed before. And she was like,
that was their first. She was like, oh, yeah, I noticed that too. But so maybe
it's giving like, nothing, no butterflies. Yeah. Okay.
I want to go on record that I do love John Kilmartin. I think he's great.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that you guys are absolutely spot on. I don't think John Kilmartin might necessarily be in Francesca's endgame, especially seeing how Michaela
enters the room. Yeah.
And my thing is, this is like, what a way for like Francesca and Eloise to kind of like have dialogue from like sister to sister, like, I'm feeling this about Michaela, and all of this stuff. That would be a nice like.
What do you guys think about the possibility that Eloise could be Ace? Because I've been thinking about that for a while.
Okay. I forget about that life. I'm so sorry, people.
I brought it up to Tim that I thought the way they were setting up Francesca, who is uninterested and is just trying to get married and kind of be done with it to some degree. I was like, I would love that storyline for her in some degree, just that for the representation of it, just to say like, this is how people feel and deal with life, and that's fine too. And even with the kiss, I'm going, depending on how they go with that, right? I was like, maybe they're still gonna go with that plot or do something with that. But Eloise too, I think Eloise has such strong connections with her female friends very quickly that I could also see that going somewhere, just depending on, again, we sounds like we have a setup.
There's just such passion behind her real relationships that I'm like, I don't see that. Like,
she did have a moment with that hot printer guy in season 2, but her talk with Kate, which Kate Sharma, Sister of the Year, Kate Bridgerton, pardon me, where she's just like, everyone's just pairing off, like, and I'm out here by myself. I feel like something like that resonates with a lot of people.
Sure.
Me.
Until I was 39.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, like, I thought when you have characters and therefore actors that blow up, like we see with Jonathan Bailey, and even Simone Ashley as Kate and Anthony, I thought the amount of them and what they could get of them was perfect.
Right.
Like,
I mean, he was out filming
sprinkled
Kid,
in.
right?
Yeah,
He's in 2 movies. Yeah.
Well, I will say this is like, every time I saw them, I'm like, this is what they would have done with the other couple.
That was what I was going to say. It's like, this is what you should be doing. Very minimal, couple scenes per season, getting some story. And like, obviously everything that happened with Roger Jean is kind of weird and kind of Shondaland politics to some degree after what
Yeah,
happened.
I think that
Yeah.
he had issues with the treatment of
Yeah.
people on the set too.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
Yeah.
I'm
then
hopeful that maybe at the end we'll get everyone back
Mm.
for a bit.
I mean, it's fine if they don't. Like if
Yeah, but they're also, I mean, he's a duke and they live pretty far away. So like
yeah.
people couldn't just run over.
Well, I mean,
well, we
Francesca lives in Scotland, so
Yeah, that bit, it takes her like 2 weeks to get anywhere.
I saw that Phoebe, who plays Daphne, showed up for the premiere for season 3, and I'm like, so she's
Nice,
still
yeah.
around, but we couldn't get like anything with her. Like, she even got a couple scenes in season 2. It's like,
Yeah, but like, how many times are you gonna show a tired mother?
what?
Fair. And
Like,
also, there's already so many people in this show.
yeah,
There's so many people in this show.
It is a very dense. Yeah, that was the other thing. Like trying to get all these subplots. It's like,
but I actually live for the subplots because that's where my life, kind of coincides with things. It's
Well, I
like
was
brothers and sisters and like friendships and stuff like that. It's like beyond like passion and I breathe for you, I burn for you and stuff. There's like true stories between friends that come out of like the last 4 episodes that I really appreciated.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so like it I don't know. I just really appreciate like the backstories and stuff of that nature.
I was a little concerned, not concerned, but when they did the flash forward with the children at the end, and like it felt like they were setting up for an end. Like, and now everybody has a baby, and I was
Yeah.
like, wait, are we not getting another season? I thought there were so many more books, but
Yeah,
I
we
was a
will get
little.
another
Yeah.
season. They are filming
I think
in
we're
Scotland.
moving out of Mayfield or Mayfair or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that we'll see Scotland. They are filming season 4. If they haven't started, they're starting. It
Okay.
will be 2 years.
Yeah.
It will be 2 years. I think that we will get at least 5 seasons. I don't know if we'll get beyond 5, but I think the plan right now is they are planning for 5 seasons, if not more. There's no reason it should take 2 years to get 8 episodes of television now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No.
That's,
I mean,
no.
not
I
with
believe that
CGI.
is, I believe that is Netflix politics. I believe that Netflix wants these big splashy premieres. So like next year will be Stranger Things and The Witcher. And then the year after that, they'll have their big Bridgerton. So I think
Yeah.
that they are purposefully extending the time.
Margaret, while we have an expert on the show, and by expert I mean somebody who's like definitely watched and thought about this maybe at another level,
Oh yeah.
I could not remember Genevieve's like severe interest in Whistledown. Like when Penelope tells her that she's gonna
Right.
stop, she kind of has this look on her face like sort of
So there's
panic. And I was like, is
There's a
she
couple
just
things there.
Oh
There's a
yeah,
couple
yeah.
things there. In the second season, Penelope was basically doing dead drops of the drafts at the Modiste.
Yeah,
So
right.
Genevieve was in on it. She
Yeah.
was like the go-between with the printer because
Yeah.
Eloise got very close to catching her
Oh,
because she
that's
found
right. Okay.
the printer. So Penelope enlisted her aid to get
Mhm.
stuff to the printer. And the second thing is these are the only self-made women
Right.
in the show.
Good
Genevieve
point.
is also has built her own business and
Yeah.
getting married, is
I
making
mean,
it
she
work.
said it. She said it. She was like, I love to see the glow of a woman. That's why I do it. And like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to stop doing that. Like, there's a reason why she, and I mean, we know why Penelope does it. It's because she like this is her voice. And like, she's giving up her voice. And Genevieve was like, couldn't be me. And
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
something that links the two of them that Genevieve shares with her that she shares with nobody else. And I think that we all have instances in our lives where this kind of thing, like just something that you and maybe you're both single at the same time, and then
Yeah.
that other person starts dating someone, and a part of you feels like kind of betrayed, like, okay, well now I'm just out here on my own. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's just that it's something the two of them shared. It was someone for her to talk to, and then that person's like, well, I'm just gonna stop because I'm getting married. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck me, I guess.
Yeah, right.
She made money from it too. Like she paid her to
There's
help
an
her.
interest.
But I think there was a true friendship there, and so she felt let down.
And that's what I talk about with like all the little like side relationships is like you don't think about, you know, shoot. You just don't think about all the like many relationships that you have with people. And we're always like putting romantic love at the pinnacle of everything. I was like, if you don't have that, then it's whatever. But like you disperse, or most people disperse love to a lot of different relationships and people, and that's super important as well. Like,
Yeah. What you're saying actually makes me, that's one of the things I started appreciating about Benedict
yeah,
in these last 2 episodes.
Sure.
So, I mean, the deal with Bridgerton, they are based on romance novels. So, like, the romance, like you're saying, is kind of the center, but you're absolutely right. The way that they show relationships and connections between all types of people is really important. And another big theme for part 2 was, I think there's at least 4 or 5 characters who tell someone else, like, so and you have love, we are happy, do not take it for granted.
yeah,
Kate says it, sorry, Colin says it. People, I had them in my head to talk about on the podcast today, and of course I've immediately forgotten. But I think there's at least 4 times, where people are like, everyone's together, everyone's happy, you have love. People say it to Penelope a lot. Don't take it for granted.
yeah.
Portia says it to her. You have the love of like a respectable, good man. Like, don't take it for granted.
Yeah, the Viscount and she said it to him. You're like, calm down. It's not that serious.
He's like, why is he moving in on my mom? And she's like,
I'm
we're
like,
all together.
hey, we're having a good time. Let your mom get some. Like,
yeah, right?
I did want to say, kind of on the back end of Cressida and that development, Lady Featherington's character development this season, I'm
actually enraged.
She could have easily just been the evil stepmother Cinderella, like, kind of character, if you will. But I really, really thought they made her more complex. They introduced some different and the actress. She's just killing.
Yeah, the actress. She was acting. She was doing.
You guys, are you familiar with Polly Walker from anything else?
She looks very familiar.
Yes.
Okay. She plays a very similar character in the HBO series Rome.
That's where I know her Rome. I love Rome.
That's right.
She's amazing in that. And I'll also say that she actually played in the Gwyneth Paltrow Emma. She plays Jane Fairfax.
Okay.
Which is another like very sort of, you have to do a lot of storytelling just with a performance because it's not necessarily good. I love Polly Walker. One of the reasons why I got so excited about Bridgerton in the first place was because she was in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they gave her some actual good stuff in that one scene where she's talking to Penelope and she says, ladies don't have dreams. We're not allowed to. Your father was cruel. I did the best there's so much that she's showing us with just those few lines.
I had so many times that I was going back and forth with her. Like, I was just like,
what did I do to you?
I was like, oh my God, she's seeing her. Oh my God, she's being mean. What the hell? Stop this.
I actually draw a lot of parallels. So for those who don't know, I also co-host a Jane Austen podcast called First Impressions. And I think there's a lot of parallels between Portia Featherington and Mrs. Bennet in Pride and Prejudice, where they get a lot of shit for being terrible moms. But at the end of the day, they know the stakes are high. Yeah. And the only way to guarantee their daughters will not be out on the street is to secure matches. And that's why they're obsessed with it. And they both are ridiculous. But underneath that is a lot of fear of wanting to make sure that their daughters have a future, are safe. And so is Portia cruel to Penelope? Yes. But I think she's also been well, she's not going anywhere. She's going to be the one to take care of me. Again, good writing. I understand why she is
complexity. Yeah.
She was like, oh, she's the spinster. Thank God. I need somebody to take care of me. Like,
right. Yeah. And then at the end, when it's like Team Featherington has finally come together. And by the way, all wearing Bridgerton blue now.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're now Bridgertons.
As soon as Penelope is engaged to Colin, Portia Featherington starts working blue into her outfits. And when they show up at the ball, they are both wearing the same like cobalt blue outfit.
The ball that Penelope paid for.
That's
But
right.
On her own.
Bridgerton does a lot of storytelling with costume, and that's another reason why I really love it. And so once you see like all those blues coming together, you know they're all working together now. They're all supporting each other. It was really nice.
Yes.
I did
Like
like,
we're Featheringtons, we support each other. Burst out laughing, everybody. It's like
yeah.
don't.
And because of the complexities that Lady Featherington and that story is giving, it gives even the sisters, who have been mostly background characters, more
Yeah.
room to chew on when she's like clearly showing signs of being jealous that Penelope is getting this attention from the mother, and then she's trying to express how she really feels. And I don't know. I thought for characters that really could have just been on the side, only getting a few lines here and there, I was like, oh, I really, really feel for these people and like understand where they're coming from. So
Yeah.
And the bugs were everything.
The
bugs
bugs.
were everything.
But I need your help. I need your guys' help. So
Okay.
my husband and I were trying to come up with the best alternative name for the Dankworth Finch ball, and I think we came up with dope ass fuck ball. But like, what do you guys think? Like, what?
I think the butterfly ball would have been
But
everything.
like Dankworth Finch, like there's something
Yeah.
there. I don't know what it is. I need help
Dankworth Finch.
finding it. What's the good joke?
What was
We were like the dope, the dank dope. Like, what is it?
It's like DFWB, right?
Yeah, it was DWF, like Dankworth
DWF.
Finch. I can't grab the joke. It's out there in the ether waiting for me.
It's
Like
out,
a butterfly. And I just
right, just gotta
Dope
reach for and
white.
grasp. Listeners,
Dope
if you have any
white.
suggestions,
Oh,
email them.
dope white fuckers. That's
I
not
like
about
that.
it. But like,
And I do just want to give a shout out to Mr. Dankworth and Mr. Finch, who I think are just like pure delight. And every time they were on screen,
yeah, they love their wives. Oh,
too.
Yeah, they really, really
they're
do.
great. This show does such a good job with casting, where even people who like barely have anything bring a lot
yeah.
and are serving and make you love them.
Tim, I was gonna say, did you have any other subplots or any other things that you wanted to speak to on this season?
Lord Anderson is fine as hell.
Just a
Lord
hot-
Anderson can tend to my garden. Let's just say like, my garden is untended to, and he should plow my fields.
Just such a tall,
Yeah, regal.
broad, love the
Like-
beard, like older.
And the beard was like a chestnut brown. It wasn't like a jet black like the Beijing girls love to do. And it was just, every time he came with like such, I don't know, like peace. Like it felt peaceful when he like would speak. Like it was like, hi, I was wondering if you would want to go out to the fields right now.
Smooth, yeah.
Yeah.
I think two of the best seasons in the whole show are him and Lady Danbury finally having it out, because you just have two great actors.
Yeah.
Two great actors. Just going for it.
And it shows you like childhood trauma is real. Like he was like, I was 10. I was scared for you.
I was 10. I was like, I cannot believe she has like held on to this rage again.
Holding
Yeah.
on
Or at
to
least 50 years. Like,
Yeah.
Margaret, you don't have to weigh in on this, but I was telling Tim, I was like, okay, so we have Lady Bridgerton, Francesca, and Daphne, who all seem to have a certain type that they really, really enjoy. And I was just
and the Viscount. Don't forget the Viscount.
There's been a lot of memes. There's been a lot of memes about that, where it's like the Bridgerton women are like, okay.
Well, that's a Shonda thing, though. That's a Shonda thing.
The central family they kept white, but like we're just gonna have them go for like
We're gonna become Kardashians. Like
actually, it's funny you say that, because a lot of people on Twitter are like, we need Keeping Up with the Featheringtons. I need a spin-off. Like it's just them.
That would be bomb. I would see it. I could see it. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really fun.
Margaret, I wanted to ask you, I know you came prepared today. Was there any other particular storylines or anything else you wanted to say about the season as a whole?
My only big frustration, I just wanted more Colin and Penelope. The press tour has been a real blitz. Like they've been out there, they've been talking. I've seen every reel, I've seen every interview. I've seen every TikTok. There were a lot of stuff that they said would be in the show that ended up being cut.
Oh.
That we know was cut. Things like at the end of episode 8, we see them. It's actually it's a night. It's like a very short love scene, but you see Penelope on top, and it's basically like she's
Yes, Penelope was riding, honey.
comfortable as a lover. She like knows what she
Yeah.
wants. That confidence that was supposed to be part of a broader sex montage
Oh.
where they actually during filming they broke that chaise lounge, the settee, and we were told it would be in the cut, that they were like,
Oh,
hey, we'll put that
gotcha.
in.
I mean, that's funny,
There
though.
there was
Yeah.
also supposed to be like an angry sex scene after he discovers she's whistle down that was cut. And I can't help but be a little bitter that like, oh, cool, you guys from your romance show cut the great sex scenes we all want so I can see Benedict eating a scone with Miss
Fair.
Tilly. Like, wow, great. Thanks so much for that. So I'm just a little like, I was hoping it'd be a little
It
steamier.
was a lot of like, I guess because the other seasons didn't have much gay in it, they were like, all right, throw some poly in this.
It was like Colin and Penelope are having a real dramatic moment, and it's like,
Oh.
Benedict and which I don't mind seeing that, but I was
Yeah.
just like, I was personally, I feel very invested in Colin and Penelope, so I really wanted more of them. So on rewatch, I'll be honest, I fast forward through some of the stuff I'm not as like Cressida being yelled at her family. I don't need to see that 3 times.
I honestly think they did they talked about that baby, the Viscount having a baby too long. It was too much.
Oh yeah.
Like I was like, I don't care. Like get back to the titties. Like I want to know. Like
yeah. So see, like you're on the same page. You're on the same page. I want to see Nicola Coughlan naked.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
She's gorgeous.
I know.
She
right?
is the
so
Venus. Like
she's so squeezable.
Well, Margaret, every episode we ask ourselves, what's making us live this week? And since you're our guest, we'd love to know what's making you live this week.
So this week will be somewhat of a challenging week. We have a bunch of daycare closures. I have a 3-year-old, so I will be taking time off to do that. But I'm very excited. I'm finally getting to the new season of the show Evil on Paramount Plus. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It is so fucked up in like the best way.
He's a beautiful man. That ball head.
I forget his name, but he played Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Yes, right. He's Luke Cage. And it's also got the guy who played Benjamin Linus from Lost as like the bad guy. It's so delicious. It's so messed up. I always really look forward to it. And my husband, he doesn't like it. It's too scary for him. So it's just like the thing that I have for me.
Mike Coulter is the lead actor.
Yes, he's fine.
He's very, very attractive.
Yum.
Yeah. Great.
What season?
If you haven't seen it, so I think the third, this might be the 4th season. So it was on CBS. It moved to Paramount Plus only.
I saw it when it was on CBS.
Yeah. So I can't remember if this is actually the 3rd season or the 4th season. I want to say it's the 3rd season, but then someone will come at me on Twitter. But anyway, it's really good. If you like horror, I will say it's very much like the X-Files. They are, I'm sorry, this is like a really long tangent now.
No, you're good.
They work for the Catholic Church. It's like a tech guy, a psychiatrist, and then Luke Cage plays a Catholic investigator. He like is training to be a priest. And the 3 of them are basically hired by the local bishop to investigate strange phenomena because the church needs to confirm, like, is someone actually possessed? Like, is this a real spiritual thing? And so it's kind of like a story of the week in that kind of X-Files, right? Where they're like investigating something, but there's a broader arch of like demons and the Antichrist.
And then you get like the science behind it. And then like
Oh, interesting.
And it's scary. Like it's scary in the way that some X-Files episodes were legitimately scary. So if you like that and you're not bothered by the demons, the possession, the Catholic Church, like my cousin, she can't handle the religious stuff. I love that.
Yeah.
Nice. Good stuff.
It's called Evil.
Yeah. Evil. I got onto it because I watched the new Charmed. And like one of the girls is more of the sciencey person. Is like, it's not magic, it's this. Like, and so that was really cool. And so like because I watched that, it made me or it said I might like that, and I did. I might go back. Yeah.
Yeah, like the
Nice.
tech science guy, he's always looking for like, oh, well, it's mold that's giving
Yeah.
everyone and then there's the psychiatrist who's like, well, they're an untreated schizophrenic. And then there's Luke Cage who's training to be a priest, and he's like, well, obviously it's possession. So,
Yeah.
but it's not
Nice.
always possession. There are other forms of
Explanations.
occult and stuff that's investigated, but
Evil. Check it out. Awesome. Tim, what about you? What's making you live this week?
Well, it's my birthday week. So thanks mom and dad for doing your thing around Halloween.
so good for
Um
26. Like
oh
I
my god,
can't
thank
You
you.
look
look at
Thank
this
gorgeous with that too.
glow.
you. I have good lighting. Thanks, Mariah.
That's
But
You had the
yes, I'm
fan
looking
going.
for, another trip around the sun. So yeah.
Amen. Good
What
stuff.
about what about you, Bear?
I got to see one of my like favorite weird little bands, the Dresden Dolls, this week. They were at the 9:30 Club, Margaret. So
Aren't they the coin operated
operated
boy?
boy,
Yeah.
yes. So it's very hard to describe what they do. They I think they're self-described as cabaret punk music, but it is a pianist, Amanda Palmer, who a lot of people may know, and this amazing aggressive rock drummer, Brian Villante. And it's Amanda's pent up, bottled female rage and sadness at times on piano up against this aggressive rhythm. And I'm getting goosebumps. It was absolutely amazing. They have not been on tour in over a decade, and they're doing these little shows here and there to kind of like do a new album. So I hadn't seen them live, hadn't had an opportunity, and openly wept. They played a bunch of new songs that just absolutely slayed me, and I was like, "This is just so good. I needed it." So
Yeah.
the Dresden Dolls, they're making me live this week. I've loved them
Sounds
for a long time.
incredible.
Aww.
So good. Margaret, before we wrap up, where can people find you? And do you have anything you want to plug?
Yes, well, you can find me on my podcast, which is called First Impressions Podcast, where we talk about everything Jane Austen, movies,
Hey.
book, somewhat related material that we say is related, even though it's really not, but we want to talk about. And we will be covering Bridgerton in we're going to record in a few weeks, and that will be out soon. So you can find First Impressions Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yes.
And you can also find me on Twitter. I guess it's X now, but nobody wants
Well,
to call it. I have to look up and make sure I give you the correct handle because I don't want to be one of those people. I'm at Maggie Cats 3. You can
yes.
find
Yes.
me. Maggie Tweet 3. Maggie Tweets 3. Or you can find me on Instagram at margaret.riley.1693.
Yes.
Yeah, come find me.
And I'll put those in the show notes in case you guys want to make sure you
Yeah,
can
please
follow her
do.
and spell that out right.
And then you can also, my co-host Kristen from our podcast is very funny on Twitter.
Hi,
You can follow her too.
Kristen.
She's got First Impressions Pod. You
Yeah.
can find her.
You guys, Margaret and Kristen's like banter and their relationship, it's so much fun to listen to. So check them out. It's definitely, even if you're not a Jane Austen person, like check them out. It's worth it for sure.
Well, one of the reasons why, and I was so happy when you guys started a podcast, because when Kristen and I, after we've been doing the podcast for a little while, she moved across the country. But the podcast has been so instrumental in keeping our friendship together.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so it's just something that we share, and that it's just so fun to like have other people. And when email Bear and Tim, reach out to them as someone who has a podcast. If you enjoy the show, please tell them. It feels so nice to hear from people
Yes.
It really does.
who
It
are
really
part
does.
of the group, because we're all friends. We're all here.
Tim, where can people find us?
Well, you can find us anywhere you can find a criminal. You can find them in the White House. You can find them you can find them on the representative floor. You can find them in wrinkles. But mostly and importantly, you can find us at cubandchub.com.
That's right, cubandchub.com. If you want to follow us, get our merchandise, figure out where to listen, please check us out. You can also email us at wearecubandchub@gmail.com. Again, we love to hear from you guys. We really appreciate it. We're just so happy. Margaret, thank you so much for joining us this
So
week.
Thank
glad
you,
to finally be on the
Margaret.
We
pod.
appreciate it.
I hope I can come back sometime and just talk about whatever.
Absolutely.
Tim, it's so good to see you, baby. Love you
It's
too.
good to see you too.
Happy birthday, Tim.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Them titties.